Welcome to the Moment of Truth video series, presented by Alec, Robinette, and Elemental Financial, where we're going to explore people's stories of moments in time when they decided to take action to make a change in their life, to live life a little more fully. What is your moment of truth? Hi, this is Alec Robinette, Elemental Financial, and this is episode 2 Moment of Truth video series, where I'm running this one back, just exploring another moment in my life where I had some clarity as far as the direction to take. And in this one, I could probably look back at years of just life and experience that all led up to this, but I wouldn't call these grand things that all came together. They were just little things that transpired and into my own psyche brought clarity to what I needed to do to change my reality. One of them was I was reading the book Between the World and Me by Ta-nehisi Coates, and if you're not familiar with the book, if you're not familiar with his work, it is a book written from his perspective as a black man, writing to his 15-year-old son, and what to expect from life as being black, being a youth, living in this country, and the history of that and what it means. Obviously, here I am looking the way I look, so you can ask many questions about, well, what does that mean to you? At the time, our second son, Zachary, was roughly about 5 or 6 months old. And so I had 2 young boys, and for myself was just reflecting on, what would that book look like, or a letter look like, from my angle, writing to my sons. And that sat with me, and what a lot of it was more of, maybe I wasn't doing enough. They needed to see their father, and over time, doing more, living more of what my purpose is. So 1, I was reading that book. 2, I received a text message late in the evening as I was reading from my boy Terry Clott, and it was just a YouTube link to the latest KRS ONE album, The World Is Mind. And if you know me as Terry does, you will understand that KRS has been a teacher for me for 30 years. And the timing of this album being released, and my boy sending it my way, and me staying up a little bit later than normal to take it all in, again, was a second part of what was happening in this 24-hour cycle of mine. Just to speak to KRS and his impact on my life, is, he's a philosopher, and it's something that I have not only listened to his music, but I've bought into his philosophy. And one of those being, and this kind of being the main thing I'm going to get to here, is the philosophy around hip hop. And he has a phrase that says, "You are not just doing hip hop, you are hip hop." So, had a late night of probably listening to that album 2 times in a row, and pardon me, as there's a hummingbird over here eating off one of these flowers that I have a visitor. Thank you for joining me. So yeah, that happened. The next, so I went to sleep, whatever, and all this was kind of, reflecting, introspection on this book, who I am, my life, my experiences, the influence that hip hop has had in my life, and the love that I have for it and the culture. So these 2 things, were sitting with me. And the next day, picking up my oldest son from his, childcare, and I never really had a conversation with this other father, but he had on the back of his car Dead Prez sticker. And so I just approached him about it and asked. He shared with me just briefly as far as the influence that they've had for him, the music, but also just in terms of getting healthy and dealing with addiction. And we talked about how KRS being a guide for their style of music, and again, it's bigger than hip hop. It is it's something that's bigger than just the music, something that lives within. And I don't know why, what about that conversation was just more of like all of a sudden like, oh yeah, we were sharing this same thing with kind of a stranger that our sons went to the same school. And but it also led me to getting on Instagram and following Stickman of Dead Prez, and within that same time period there was a post that he put out, which was a Venn diagram of this theory called Ikigai, which is a Japanese philosophy which translates to why you wake up in the morning. And this was just something that really vibed with me and what I was trying to find, and this was all a start of just me making a transition, making a change in my life where I had started a few years earlier, the steps to launch my business, Elemental Financial. And it was in this 24-hour period where my calling was for my own sons and for myself, that was realizing that I had to rededicate myself to something, and that was hip hop. And I could do that through my company, Elemental Financial. If you break that word down, it basically is rooted in the elements of hip hop. And I believe that when artists prosper, they can deliver more of their message to the world. I've been grateful enough to have received messages and teachings from artists, and this is a way for me, as far as being a financial planner, that's catering to working with musicians, that's catering to working with people that have their stories to tell, and that I can give back as a service to help them, plan their own personal finances so that they can concentrate on doing the art, getting the art out there, being empowered by having someone on their team that get their clarity around their own financial circumstances, and build wealth. So all this led up to me kind of having this, all right, I need to do this. I need to reach down within and realize that I can do more. That a culture that is of inclusivity, that I have kind of self-selected as something that means the world to me, I need to give back. And that was just the beginning stage, right? So this is the moment of me having the light bulb go off, clarity happening. And 2 years later, my life has changed. By all means, I'm not perfect. I'm still, continuously working to get to where I want to be. But Elemental Financial is happening. We're helping clients. We're taking on that role as far as being a service that empowers artists. I launched a music business networking event. We meet on a monthly basis. Next one's coming up on Thursday, Triad Music Business Network. We're inviting local musicians, anyone in the music industry, to come together, connect. We learn something each meeting, and we're just trying to grow our local ecosystem. I've also partnered with a company called Freeman Capital, which is bringing wealth services to everybody, right? Making it a something that you don't need to have hundreds of thousands of dollars, $1 million to get advice and to get investment management and financial planning. It's something that I'm really excited. I haven't really talked much about it on any of my platforms, but here it is. Freeman Capital is something that I partnered with. as well as I mentioned in the last one, I've started to work with this young man named LB the Poet here in Winston-Salem. He is definitely a voice that if you're here, I'm pretty sure you should know. If you don't, check him out, lbthepoet.com. Spoken word artist. We're working on some music. He's in the schools doing poetry workshops, and just Artist of the Year, voted from the Winston-Salem Chronicle most recently. Yeah, I'm excited about all these ventures, but it all started back 2 years ago when these things connected in a way that said, what are you doing? There's this culture that you love, that has you've grown up and learned from, and what would you write to your sons? What do you want them to reflect back on my life? And this is where it's come for me. We've got a long ways to go, and I have this privilege to, which I am trying to deal with in a way that take action, right? Instead of inaction, take action, create what you want, create your own reality, and through that, I create this identity and allow my sons, my family, to see the world differently. No matter what we face, we almost faced a moment of truth. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. No matter what we face, we all must face a moment of truth.